It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. Thanks for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'm Brian Beatty. Pleasure to be with you this morning. And we've got a lot of fun things planned for you guys over the next hour. I want to talk for a little while about real estate scams. It's not really something we focus on too often on this program. I have touched on it in the past, but there are some things going on, especially as the market continues to be in favor of sellers and the rental market continues to tighten, that you need to be aware of so that you and your friends don't get taken advantage of. And, if you've listened to my program in the past, what this program is, it's an educational program. I take a lot of national, regional, local data. I apply that to us here in the Low Country so that if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, you're an informed consumer. You know what's going on in the market. And then, of course, I share my stories and my experience as somebody that's been selling real estate in Charleston for 12 years. We've done about 1,000 transactions in this market, sold nearly 200 homes just last year. And so I share those experiences with you so that you know what to expect when it comes time for you to buy, sell, or invest. You're an informed consumer. You know the right questions to ask. You know how to work with your real estate agent. You understand the process. And it's a smooth transaction for you. So I want to talk about real estate scams. I also want to give you some helpful tips if you're considering buying or selling a home this spring. So that's what we have planned over the course of the next hour. Now, if you want to reach out to me, if you're thinking about buying or selling real estate in the Charleston area, we'd love the opportunity to earn your business. We were ranked in the top 5 agents in all of Charleston last year. We're in the top 1% of agents in South Carolina and nationwide. And we'd love the opportunity to discuss your plans and see how we might be able to help. You're welcome to reach out to me personally by calling 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. That's my cell number, so you can also text that. Or you can go to listingsincharleston.com. That's my website, listingsincharleston.com. A lot of good information on there, some helpful guides for buyers, sellers, and millennials. And, of course, you can learn more about myself and my team, who we are, what we do, what we sell, previous versions of this program, all kinds of fun stuff, listingsincharleston.com. So let me get right into it. Let me tell you guys a story here. And this is a bit of a heartbreaking story. And I wish that I had more control over this process, but the honest truth is that I did not. And so I want to talk about some real estate scams. And the first one is the old bait and switch scheme. And so this scam occurs when a prospective buyer is offered an above market value price for their house. And the seller, who is obviously blown away by this great offer, excitedly accepts it. And then, sadly, this kind of unscrupulous buyer has no intention of purchasing the property at that price. But once the seller signs the contract, the seller can only sell to that buyer. You can only sell to one person for a specific period of time. Of course, you can accept backup offers from other people, but you can't kick people out of the process. And so a client we were working with had their home under contract in a different state. They were moving to the area. They worked with a buyer agent on my team, and they found a house that they really liked, so we put it under contract with a home sale contingency, meaning that they couldn't buy it until their home sold. And if their home didn't sell, they were protected. They got their earnest money back. And, you've got a certain amount of time in which to sell your property, or they say, sorry, didn't work out. You get your earnest money back, and then they can sell it to somebody else. Well, the house they were selling out of state, in order to purchase the home here locally, took a lot longer than they expected to sell it. How long? About 6 months. And so here's what happened. Our client accepted an offer on their house from a buyer. It was represented by a different agent for above asking price, which included a 20 business day due diligence period. And as a frame of reference, really quickly, we typically do not encourage our clients to sign contracts when they're selling residential real estate with a due diligence period attached to it, because it means that during that time, 10 business days after ratification is what we typically suggest, the buyer can cancel the agreement for any reason within that due diligence period and get their earnest money back. Now, due diligence period, they're typically accompanied by something called a termination fee. meaning if the seller is going to give the buyer the right to cancel at any time within that due diligence period, they want to be compensated fairly and receive some sort of set amount in return for the time they've spent off the market. Usually anywhere from a few $100 to a few $1,000, depending upon the price of the house, the length of time, and of course, market conditions. Well, for this client, at the end of 20 business days, the buyer said, look, then we need a little more time to get my financing in order. It's going to take just a little longer than expected. So they asked for an additional 10 business days, which the sellers gave them. And then after the 10 business days were up, they asked for another extension. The sellers were a little frustrated at this point, of course, but they were willing to hang in there because of the price the buyers were willing to pay. And then, after a few more extensions were granted, which the seller really didn't want to do, but hey, if they could get that price, it was worth it to them. While this is taking place, by the way, there are two impacts on the seller. Number one, the seller keeps paying taxes, insurance, mortgage payments, the cost of maintenance, to maintain their home. And then number two, they develop an emotional commitment to selling. They say to themselves, we've come this far, we might as well see this thing through rather than start this process all over again. And you can kind of see how that logic sounds somewhat reasonable, especially if this buyer's willing to pay higher than what they have the home listed for. And so here's what happens in the bait and switch. The buyer comes back to the seller with an excuse as to why the price no longer works for them. And they request a price reduction that is actually now below fair market value. And if they can't get it, if their demand isn't met, then they're going to just cancel the contract. And so the seller, who's all stressed out by this passage of time and ongoing costs, agrees to the reduction. And so here are the numbers. I'm not going to name any names, of course, but this is what happened. So the seller accepted an offer for $220,000. The buyer asks for extension after extension for 6 months, and then this tired and frustrated seller finally agrees to sell their property for $180,000. On top of that, they had ongoing costs of around $10,000, so they lost about $30,000 throughout the process of selling their house. And to make matters worse, they paid for a home inspection for the house that they were buying here in Charleston. Again, it was contingent upon the sale of their home, so we protected them, but they also took 2 separate trips to Charleston, after the contract was ratified, to meet with contractors, to look at some furniture, get some furniture lined up. They had, movers lined up, the whole 9 yards. So, and by the way, you might be thinking to yourself, how could we as agents allow them to spend any money on a home inspection if their home wasn't officially closed yet? Well, first of all, they were going to do a back-to-back closing, meaning as soon as their home sold, they were going to purchase the home they had under contract the same day. And they were going to move over the weekend. Secondly, we're in a seller's market, and the seller was not going to allow us to wait on a potential deal-breaking item like a home inspection. They wanted us to show good faith and move forward with the list of things we needed to do in order to line up the purchase on their new house, which is very common. So how can you avoid this bait and switch scheme? First of all, confirm proof of funds at the time the contract is signed. This is something that their agent out of state did not do. Whether they're paying cash or they're getting financing, you need a pre-approval letter. And if you really want to take it one step further, you can ask for proof of funds for the down payment. The second thing I would say is do not grant unreasonable expectations or reductions without getting something in return. Charge a per diem fee or charge some sort of non-refundable earnest money. You are the seller and you're the one that's at risk, and you're the one that's going to agree to that extension and or reduction. You need to get something in return to make it worth your while. I think the third thing here is that you need to set some expectations early on, that you're not going to be stringed along in this contract, and that's something that your agent needs to help you with. They need to be able to tell you honestly, hey, are there plenty of fish in the sea or not? Is one in the hand worth more than 2 in the bush? Don't be afraid to play hardball if you're in a market that's highly desirable. And the last thing that I would say is that if the extension or the reduction is based on something like condition, repairs need to be made, you need to request that the inspector or a general contractor provide you and your agent with a report that report needs to verify the claims that are being made by the buyer. And if the buyer is unwilling to share that information, which has happened to me on a few of my listings, we know something is up, and that's a red flag. We don't play around. We don't play those kinds of games. So that is just one example of a bait and switch scheme, which there have been plenty of people that have tried to do that on our listings. And yes, it takes some intestinal fortitude from the seller to say, you know what? No, I'm not going to go along with this. I'm not going to play this game. I've seen it happen. I know how it ends. And in this market, more often than not, it's fairly simple to put the home back on the market and find a more reasonable buyer and more capable buyer to purchase your home than it would be to continue to, be in bed with this person that at some point is likely going to try and take advantage of the situation. So that is just one of several examples that I want to talk about this morning. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about renters. There are a ton of scams associated with rental property, both for homeowners and for potential tenants. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. And of course, if you want to reach out to me, you want to think about buying, selling, or investing in real estate and kind of talk through that process, come up with a game plan, interview my team, my number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or you're welcome to visit and contact me through my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Stick around, Charleston, for more exciting and interesting news and information on some scams and, of course, helping you buy and sell real estate this spring right here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston. The conversation continues here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. We're talking for the first half of this show about real estate scams. There are some very unfortunate situations happening in this market right now, not just here locally, but across the country, of people that are being taken advantage of. And I just talked about the bait and switch scam that has been going on really for a few years now, really probably more than that, but we've seen it happen more often as it's become a seller's market where people are offering more than the seller has it listed for, stringing them along over the course of several months, coming up with a bunch of excuses as to why they can't purchase the property at that price any longer. They change the price to something below fair market value. The seller feels like they're in between the rock and a hard place. They take the contract at a lower price. They end up selling it for less than what it's worth. And it's just a very unfortunate situation. So if you missed that, this show plays Saturdays at 9 and then repeats Sundays at 10. But you can always find any radio show that I record on my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And of course, you can look around on the site and learn more about myself and my team, who we are, what we do. We sold nearly 200 homes last year. We've been in the top 1% of agents here since 2009 and have done about 1,000 transactions locally. So if you're thinking about buying or selling real estate or investing, we'd love the opportunity to earn your business. Feel free to go to listingsincharleston.com to check us out and use the contact tab to send us a message, or feel free to call me. My number is 843-345-1273, 345-1273. Of course, you can text that number as well. That's my personal cell phone. And, feel free to get in touch with me and we'll help you out any way we can. Now, I want to talk about one more scam that unfortunately we see almost on a weekly basis, and I am not exaggerating. So here's what happens. We'll get a call from somebody that says, hey, we're calling about the property you have for rent. We don't have any properties for rent. We only help people buy and sell. We refer people to property management companies. So, of course, our first question is, where did you see that rental posting? And 99 times out of 100, guess where it is? Craigslist. We don't have any properties for rent, sir or ma'am, is what we say. What you are likely seeing is a fake posting from a real posting from a fake owner trying to scam you. And I'm so glad that you called, because every once in a while, these scammers get somebody and they make a few $1,000 off them. So here's this scam, and here's how it works. The fake owner scam involves scammers contacting people who have posted ads looking for housing, or they post a rental property with a rental price that just seems too good to be true. It's definitely lower than what that property should be renting for. Now, if you've posted an ad looking for housing, they might send you a photo of quote unquote their house and give a compelling reason why they're able to lease it to you for a couple of years. Often it's because they're taking a job that's taking them out of the country for some period of time, and it leaves their home empty, and the owners now want to rent it out. And so this scammer will communicate with you by email and by phone. They're very smart. They'll send you contracts to be signed. And unfortunately, in this day and age, photos can be copied from a real estate agent's actual listing. Contracts can be obtained online, so on and so forth. They may even give banking information to the victim, requesting that the security deposit and first month's rent be deposited into the scammer's bank account. That's how they get your money. And upon deposit, they're going to send you the keys. And of course, the keys never arrive. And this person being scammed is now out an exorbitant amount of money. Or worse, they move and they show up to the property they've been expecting to move into, and they say, hey, I'll meet you there, only to realize that the home was never for rent. And they knock on the door and the owner says, what the heck are you talking about? My property's not for rent. And now they're left without a place to live. It's very, very sad. It's very unfortunate. I hate it when people get taken advantage of, which is why I'm talking about this morning. Because this person now has nowhere to live. And there have been some real sob stories, or not sob stories, but just some stories that would make you sob over the past several years of people that have just been taken advantage of in really, really bad ways. So first of all, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. In the case of renting or leasing accommodations online, insist on meeting the homeowner or the real estate agent in person. Some of these scammers have gone so far as to create copies of fake real estate agent licenses by stealing the real estate agent's photo and then cropping it into a document they create that appears to be an official real estate license. And on some of these websites, when I post my properties on some different websites like Realtor.com as an example, my license number is on there. So I would advise you that you have to meet with them in person. You could even go in so far as to say, I need to see the deed to the house along with identification proving that you own the home or that you represent the home they are leasing. You could also call that supposed real estate agent's company, if it's with a property manager, call their main phone number and ask to speak with the agent on the listing to ensure that you're actually talking to the right person representing the property. We get a call about once a week from people that see our properties that have been turned into a rental listing online. And, fortunately, a lot of them are kind of wary of the information that's been posted online as being too good to be true. But these scammers are just stealing the information they find online about our listings for sale. They're creating a fake rental listing, mostly on Craigslist. And the only way the potential tenant gets in touch with us is if they do some sort of search online and find our contact information on a website other than Craigslist. And again, there have been so many heartbreaking stories of families that have been taken advantage of by this specific scam. So please, 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 please be careful and just follow my advice on this. Always verify the owner or the agent's identity. Verify that the property is in fact for rent, and insist that you or an agent that represents you walk through the property in person. I mean, this scam can actually be taken one step further. Let's say you're out of town, you're moving to the area, and you find a rental listing online posted by a real estate agent, but you're unable to view that property in person. So you tell them, you want the unit and you want to move forward. Now they say, look, there's a lot of people looking at this property, so the best way to, lock it in is to send your security deposit, which is refundable, and then that's going to be held in an escrow account, and then we will send you the lease to sign, and then Once you've signed that, we'll get the owner to sign it, and then you can send us first month's rent. The other version of the scam, which is slightly less expensive, comes in the form of somebody asking you to fill out a rental application that comes with a $50 to $100 rental application fee. And so you send in the application and the application fee, and you find out later that they either selected a different tenant or that your rental application was reviewed by the owner and it was denied. And so this rental application is non-refundable, and you're out $50 to $100. But the scammer has probably done this to multiple people and is now sitting on a few hundred, a few $1,000s per rental listing, and they can have several of these things posted at once. So don't send money before you have a lease signed. If it's a rental application, verify that the property management company is the person that you're actually talking to. If it's just an owner, owners should not be charging rental application fees. And if you're an owner and you have investment properties and you're going to manage it yourself and you really want to charge a rental application fee, fine, I suppose. I would not if it were me. I don't manage my own rental properties. I have a management company do that for me because it's just not worth my time. I can make more money doing what I do on a daily basis, which is selling real estate, than I can save by managing my own properties. But you need to verify the property management company's contact information by doing a Google search, and if you can't find them, obviously huge red flag. And you could actually take that one step further, by the way, and you could contact a real estate agent who has access to a directory of all licensed agents and companies and ask them to verify the property manager's identity and contact information. You need to be wary of these kinds of things. And if there's anything in this process that just seems a little out of line, then just ask for some help. It obviously doesn't make me any money to help somebody determine whether or not they're getting scammed, but my God, I'll do it every single time because it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm protecting the public as it relates to real estate, whether it be sharing information, representing a client, or helping somebody that needs help. And for those people out there that have been scammed recently by this, I'm so sorry. We do our best to police this, and if we see rental properties that are posted online, especially on Craigslist, and it's a scam, and we've been able to verify that, we report it to Craigslist. You should do the same. You can contact the FBI. You can do all kinds of things, but don't be afraid to ask for help. That's really the key point I want to get across as it relates to these scams, both the fake owner posting something for rent and the bait and switch scam. Just ask for help. I mean, heck, if you have questions about something, just call me. I'll help you out. But any agent should be able to do that. We are here to serve the public. We are here to make sure that you're taken care of. And the last thing I want to see is anybody else get scammed by this. So now you've got that information. You can use it to your advantage. You can share it with your family and friends. A lot of you are parents. You have kids that might be looking at renting their first place. Make sure they either listen to this or tell them about this. You don't want your kids getting taken advantage of, or anybody for that matter. So appreciate you listening to my rant on that, but it's really useful information. Always good to protect yourself. And if you have any questions or if you think that there might be some other scams out there that you should bring to the public's attention, let me know. I'll make a segment on my show out of it. Give me a call, 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. And of course, we're here for all your real estate needs, buying, selling, investing, and just here to help. Or you can visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So stick around, Charleston. We'll be right back with more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, and thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I'm Brian Beatty. I always like to take a little bit of time every show and just say thank you to those of you that listen to this program and rely on the information within it. We were just talking about real estate scams and how to protect yourself and those you know, love, and care about from being taken advantage of. If you missed it, this show airs Saturdays at 9 and Sundays at 10, and all of my past shows are on my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So go there if you want to learn more about some of these common real estate scams that I just talked about. And you know, I hate hearing about people being taken advantage of, which is one of the reasons why I do this show, to deliver the truth, to share my wisdom based on my time selling real estate, so that you're an educated and informed consumer. You know, I have two pet peeves in business: people that are extremely rude and people that knowingly take advantage of people on a regular basis and knowingly cause them harm for personal gain. And unfortunately, there's always going to be people out there that will take advantage of you and harm you at the drop of a hat, and nothing matters to them. They think nothing of it so long as they gain personally from it. I can't freaking stand those kinds of people. I'm sorry, but if you're one of those kinds of people, don't call me. I will not do business with you. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about helping people get the best deal possible on something. You know, the best deal humanly possible, and I will represent you to the best of my ability. But if you're the kind of person that swindles people for personal gain, find another agent. Look, I sleep like a baby at night because I know I operate my business with integrity, and I sell plenty of real estate. So I will never, ever, ever, ever compromise my values or behave unethically for your corrupt intentions of taking advantage of someone and causing them harm. Or, you know, if you're a real estate agent that represents someone like that, whether it was your intent to do that or not, get ready to do battle, because I am not going to let my clients get taken advantage of by people. I'm too experienced. My team is too good to let our clients have the wool pulled over their eyes. So anyways, I'm not sure why I got on that soapbox, but anyways, I just wanted to put that out there, I suppose, to let you know that it's an extreme passion of mine. I take extreme care in representing people, and it's one of the reasons why I share all this information on this program, just not necessarily to protect you. Yes, that's maybe an element of it, but to educate you. So, again, if you want to reach out to me, you want to have a chat about real estate, if you're looking for a good real estate agent, we'd love to earn your business. 843-345-1273 is my cell. 843-345-1273, or again, listingsincharleston.com is my website. And, since we're talking about, I was talking about this rental scam, let's just focus on the rental market for just a minute. This is kind of unplanned, but, there's a lot of you out there that maybe had your son or daughter move back into your property because they want to buy their first place, and now they need to save up some money for a down payment. And it might be your intention to get them out of your house as soon as possible. But, if you look at just the rental market in general, I mean, rents are rising at the fastest pace in about 2 years. I mean, the median rent in the United States went up about 3% compared to last year. And if you combine that with the fact that potential buyers are just having a tougher time finding a home they can afford, so they're now renting longer, and you add on the fact that mortgage rates are rising slightly. They're at 4.5% right now, or thereabouts, for kind of that gold-plated, excellent borrower with great credit and a great down payment. So it's decreasing affordability as well. And so the critical kind of housing shortage that we've been talking about for so long is now starting to take its toll on renters. And potential buyers they're just having an increasingly difficult time finding a home they can afford. So they're renting longer. And it's not that homes are becoming unaffordable. It might be becoming affordable to some, but generally speaking, homes are not, quote unquote, unaffordable. But it is pushing rental demand higher, and rent prices are becoming higher as a result of that. And if you look at rental appreciation, really over the 2 years prior, it had slowed down a little bit because we had all these apartment buildings going up. A bunch of supply came on the market following this big construction boom. And now they're rising again because of the fact that we have such a low supply of homes for sale. And with inventory being so tight, and with home prices continuing, their rapid climb, it's becoming more and more difficult for renters to become homeowners, which forces them to rent longer, or in some instances forces them to move in with their parents to save for a down payment. And so searching for that, that right house has become kind of this drawn out affair for some people, while prices are rising, while interest rates are rising. And it's making them it's just making it more challenging for them to save for a down payment. And if you look at the pace of apartment construction in the last 5 years, It's mitigated some of the supply problem, but most of the new apartments that are going up are in luxury buildings. Luxury rent has actually come down over the past several months for about a year, but rents in the rest of the market where supply is low, it's doing just the opposite. It's going up. And so you've got rising mortgage rates that only kind of exacerbate the problem because they decrease affordability for potential buyers as well. So these new households are forming at the fastest pace in 2 years, and more of them are owner households, which is kind of a reversal from the recession where renter households outpaced owners by far. But current renters are now moving to homeownership at even close to a normal pace, and that's keeping occupancies high. My team is representing a first-time home buyer right now that wants to buy a new house that's been having trouble finding something they can afford, and was renting, but he moved back in with his parents in order to save for a down payment, which is, again, it's a growing trend that's been happening for several years. And if you look at national apartment occupancy, I think it's at like 95% as of last year. I think the stat that I read a week or so ago, and it could be even higher, really, in the coming months. I mean, locally, look at all the new construction going up for apartment buildings, especially in areas like Mount Pleasant that come with big price tags. Unless a renter can afford that expensive new property, that new rental property, finding a ready to rent unit takes some real work in a lot of locations. And if you look at our markets locally, areas like Folly Beach, by the way, they've seen almost an 11% increase in rental rates. Other areas like Mount Pleasant that now have an abundance of high-priced rentals, they've actually seen about a 2% reduction in rent compared to last year. But again, the issue is affordability compared to the cost of owning a home. So if you really look at the numbers, in a lot of cases, it's actually less expensive, of course, depending upon the price range you're looking in, to purchase a house than it is to rent a house. I mean, there are plenty of programs out there right now. I know because my brother's going through one of them. He's buying his first condo. Very exciting for him. Shout out to Chris if you're listening, man. But there are plenty of programs out there for 1% to 3% down for a first-time home buyer that have no PMI, private mortgage insurance. And if you can get the closing costs paid by the seller, that means you could buy a house for a few $1,000s out of pocket. There's plenty of programs out there. You don't even have to be a first-time home buyer, actually, in some instances, to qualify for this quote-unquote first-time home buyer program. So my advice is to speak with a real estate agent. Now, that they've got to have a good mortgage lender to help you run an own versus rent analysis so you can figure out where you stand. I know a lot of you listening, again, might have kids or family or coworkers that are considering buying their first place. They don't really know where to start the process, which I think is part of the problem. They go out and they look for information. They get all kinds of different opinions on the market and how to do things, how to approach the process. The first part of the process is down, which is their desire to own something rather than waste their money on rent. But we're here to guide them through that process so they fully understand the impact of their financial decisions, which will help them to feel less overwhelmed. So we're here to help with that. If you know of anybody that's considering purchasing their first place, we work with everybody from the first-time home buyer condo to the multi-million-dollar property and everything in between. And so we're here to help. If you want to go to my website, we've actually got a great guide right there on the homepage. It's called the Millennial Guide to Home Ownership. Yes, it's geared toward millennials, but it's really geared toward first-time home buyers. And so listingsincharleston.com is the website for that, listingsincharleston.com. Some good information on that guide, something we wrote. I think it's close to 20 pages. Or, of course, you can contact us and we can walk you through that process, at least give you some helpful tips on where to start. And hopefully we can help you as it relates to the actual process of helping you purchase your first place or sell your first place or buy and sell anything. We're here to help. 843-345-1273 is my cell. That's how you reach me. You can call or text that number, 345-1273, or again, listingsincharleston.com. So when we come back with the last few minutes of this program, I'm going to give you some helpful tips on selling your home this spring, right here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. 1250 WTMA. Expert expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. A lot of really important information has been shared this morning as it relates to real estate scams. And if you've missed that, you're welcome to visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. I usually post the most recent weekend's version of this show on Mondays. So wait until Monday if you missed it. The show airs Saturdays at 9 and Sundays at 10. So if you miss those, Listings in Charleston is the place to go to get that information, as well as any other recording that I've had of this show. It goes on that website. I've got about 5 years worth of shows on listingsincharleston.com. And of course, you can learn more about myself and my team and how we market our properties for sale, how many homes we've sold, all that fun stuff. Listingsincharleston.com, or if you want to reach out to me personally, call my cell phone or text my cell phone. That number is 843-345-1273. Again, 843-345-1273. So I want to finish up this program by giving you a few tips for selling your house in the spring. And so we've been talking really for years now, but specifically over the course of the past few months about inventory. Inventory at the end of February last year sat at about 5,500 homes for sale. And as of right now, we're just a tad over 5,000 properties for sale. We actually have more real estate agents than we have properties for sale in the Charleston area. Just to give you an idea, at the bottom of the market, we had about 4 to 5 times the number of homes for sale compared to the number of agents in our market. So you see how much it's changed. So now we've got a little bit more than 100 homes on the market than we did last month. And the spring market is when we see the most inventory hit the market. But we're still moving at kind of a snail's pace compared to the overall demand for housing. So if you're considering selling your house this spring, here are a few tips for you to ensure you sell your home for the most money and in an appropriate amount of time. Keyword being appropriate. Not every home will or should sell in a week. It all depends on your market. People always ask me, how quickly do you think my home will sell? And I say, well, it depends. And people really don't like that answer. It depends. They want concrete information. But until I can dig into the market, really analyze it, learn about your home, and learn about what you need out of this process, I can't really give you a figure. A lot of it depends on you and your level of motivation to sell. And of course, we have to be realistic as it relates to the overall demand for a home like yours in your specific area of the market. And so the first thing that I will say is now is a really good time, if you're considering selling your house, to go ahead and get a pre-listing inspection before you put that property on the market. And I announced a few weeks ago that if you're going to sell your home this year, my team will pay for the cost of your pre-listing inspection. We do that so that we can uncover any issues that a buyer and inspector might find that they are then going to use to try and beat you up over the price. And it happens all the time for these folks. I mean, obviously my buyer agents do it when we're trying to get a good deal for our clients. When we're representing a seller, we want to do everything we can to ensure that we hold as close to the price that we're under contract for as possible. We want to do as little negotiating after that contract is signed as possible. Hopefully no negotiating. If the appraisal goes well and the inspection that they order matches the inspection we've had. But it also allows you as the owner, if some things come up in that pre-listing inspection, to use the contractors that we know and like and trust and offer a good level of service for a reasonable price. We don't necessarily work with the cheapest people in the world because I think you get what you pay for when you hire a contractor. I really, truly believe that. And trust me, I've been on both ends of that spectrum. So the people that we work with are fair, they're reliable, they get the job done, and they do it quickly. You don't have to wait 6 to 8 weeks to get on their calendar for a project. So it allows you to control cost. And if you just don't have the money to make those repairs ahead of time, then at least we can incorporate that into the pricing and we can create a game plan around it. But pre-listing inspections, I think, are very important, especially since we had such a harsh winter. I know that the water line's heading out to my dock. I cut on the water, right after that ice we had, the second ice we had, and we had some pipe burst on the water out to my dock, and so we had to get that replaced. And Then we did some preventative maintenance inside the house because I had some, PVC that we turned into PEX and blah, blah, blah. The whole point is you probably haven't been snooping around your house as much as an inspector certainly will. It's a good time to just get, the health check on your house. And again, if you hire my team, we'll pay for that. The second thing I want to say is that, if you think about spring, you think about, you think light and bright and fresh and happy. And you want to make sure that your house reflects that. Your house matches that mood. And so what I mean by that is, especially starting on the outside, curb appeal now is a really, really good time to start working in the yard and to get that yard looking as good as it can. We still have some leaves that are blowing around. I know I battle it every week, or my landscaper battles it every week. We're still getting leaves out of the lawn. But we're pruning some stuff up. We're making the yard look nice. Great time for you to do that. And, a lot of people have seasonal depression. I wouldn't say that I was personally depressed, but I like being outside. I like being on a boat with a fishing rod in my hand, or I like being in the woods with a shotgun looking for birds, or I just like being outside, swimming in my pool with my kids. And man, we live in such an awesome place in this world to be able to be outside. Take advantage of that. Make sure that when you're selling your house, you're focusing on all aspects of it, not just the interior where you may have been kind of locked in for the past few months where it's still a little cold. Gosh, I'm waiting for some warmer weather. I can't wait for it. But now is a good time to kind of break out of your cocoon and, get your house looking nice and bright and airy and fresh on the outside and on the inside. And one way to help with that is to have a stager/decorator come through your home and say, all right, here's some things we can do inexpensively, or using the things you already have to kind of break that cycle of, the kind of homey yet somewhat dark look in the winter to the nice bright pops of color and the light, bright, airy feeling that you're supposed to have in spring. And so something else I'll say is that if you hire my team, we will pay for a stager to come through and to give you those recommendations. It's a 2-hour consultation. It's at my cost. And a lot of the times we just use what's in the house. It's not like we're asking you to put all your stuff in a big storage locker and get a whole new line of furniture. I mean, some people do that, but I don't really advise it. I think it's kind of a waste of money personally. But we use what's in your house, and at times we declutter. Most of the time we declutter, let's be honest. People get used to living in their home, and we need to now turn it into a product, which is a really hard thing for some people to kind of get over, is turning their house into a product while also maintaining that feel of it being a homey, inviting place to live. The stager decorator I use, that's her job. She's awesome at it. So if that's something that we can offer in return for earning your business, we'll do it. We'd love to. And then the last thing that I'll say is, over the majority of listings that my team takes and sells, 60% is the number, are properties that have previously been on the market with another real estate agent before they hired us and we had to get the home sold. And in a lot of those instances, whether it was 3 or 6 or 12 months or more that home was on the market, we don't have to go in and kind of rebrand the property. We have to apply new marketing to it. We have to look at a different way of marketing the property. And at times, we have to have a difficult conversation about price. We can work on the marketing. We can upgrade the marketing. We can give you better service. But if it's overpriced, then we need to have a conversation about that. And some folks really just don't want to hear it. They need their price, or they put a bunch of money into their house and this is what they need in order to get that money back. And the bottom line is, and this is harsh but truth, is that a buyer does not care how much you've put into the house. They don't care how much you need. What they care about, or what they should be caring about, is, are they making a wise financial decision? Is what they are paying consistent with what other people are paying for similar properties? And by the way, there's a checks and balances process called an appraisal. And it's very, very, very rare for a buyer to waive the appraisal contingency. So we're going to do everything we can to get you the best deal possible. And if your home is in an area where prices are rising, then yes, we can use that to our advantage. However, if you've been on the market for 6 months, a year, 2 years, I've seen some of these properties been on the market on and off for, I think the last one that I saw that just surprised me was like 9 years. It was crazy. There is a way to get your home sold. And if that's something that you want to discuss, if you're one of those folks, I invite you to give me a call and we can show you how we do things differently and how we rebrand properties in order to get them to sell. Feel free to call me, 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273, or visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's all the time I have. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, Charleston, and thanks for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.